Welcome everybody to the first lesson of Basic Math 2. I am Matthew the Math Man. Today we are going to kick this off with percentages. So many of you have already seen this notation before, have seen percentages, such as 67%, right? Everybody's, I'm sure, seen percents at one time or another. Well, what does percent mean exactly? That means percent means per 100. That's going to be equal to 67 out of 100. Percent is always a number, whatever percent that is, it's that number out of 100. So that 67 is the numerator, 100 is always your denominator. And the goal of percents is usually to convert them to decimals. If you see a percent, all you're going to do is move the decimal place back 2 places to the left. So you'll have 67 point, put your decimal point after the last number, then you move it back 2 decimal places, so it'll be 1, 2. So your answer would be 0.67. That's what 67% is 0.67. And I do have more. Okay, let's say you have 17%. 17%, so all you're going to do is take your whole number 17, put the decimal place at the end, then move it back 2 decimal places. So 1, 2 decimal places, that's going to give you an answer of 0.17. That would be the decimal equivalent to 17%. Alright, let's say we have 45.6%. So yeah, you're given 45.6%. So again, you'll just take your number, write it. You have 45.6, write the number as is. You'll take your decimal place, move it back 2 decimal places. You'll have 1, 2, which would give you an answer of 0.456. That would be 45.6% is 0.456. Okay, let's do another one. How about 59.01%? Well, so you'll take your number, that is the percent, the 59.01. You'll put your decimal place back 2 places to the left, so 1, 2. You will end up having 0.5901. That would be 59.01% is 0.5901. Alright, now how about if I give you something like 10%? So you got 10%. Well, again, take your whole number 10, put the decimal point at the end, write it as is, put the decimal point at the end, then move it back 2 decimal places to the left. You'll go 1, 2. You would get 0.10, which we know is the exact same as 0.1. So 0.1 is 10%. Alright, then we have 80%. So if you have 80%, you'll take your whole number, put a decimal point at the end, then move it back 2 decimal places to the left. 1, 2, which would give you 0.80, or just simply 0.8. You would simply have 0.8. That would be the answer to 80%. Alright, how about if I have something like 1%? So, again, take your number, put the decimal point at the end, 1. You need to go back 2 decimal places. So, 1 decimal place would be 0.1. It wouldn't hurt you to add a 0 in the tens place, because when you go back a second decimal place, you'll be at 0.01. So the answer to this is 0.01. that would be 1%, 0.01. All right, now how about 100%? What is 100%? So 100, you'll just write out your number 100 like you would any number, put the decimal point after the last zero, move it back 2 decimal places, you'll go 1, 2. You would end up getting 1.00, or just simply 1. That would just simply be 1 for 100%. How about 200%? All right, so we have 200%. You're going to put, of course, your number 200, put a decimal point after the last zero, then you'll move your decimal point back 2 places to the left. 1, 2, which would give you 2.00, or just simply 2. 2 would be 200%. All right. Now, got a couple more percents and we're going to do some other conversions. We have, how about 0.4%? 0.4%, so you're going to take your number, write it as it is, 0.4. You're going to go back to the left again, 2 decimal places. So 1 decimal place will give you 0.04. We realize we need another 0 because we got to go back 2 decimal places. Go back another decimal place, you'll have 0.004, which would be the equivalent to 0.4% is 0.004. How about if I give you 5.5%? All right, so you got 5.5%. So again, write 5.5 as is. You're going to go back to the left 2 decimal places. So if you go back 1 decimal place to the left, you'll have 0.55. We need to go back 2, so we need to add a 0 in the place next to it. So go back a second decimal place, you'll end up getting the answer of 0.055. So the answer to 5.5% is it's 0.055. Now, we've converted percents to decimals. What we're about to do now is we're going to end up converting decimals to percents. We're going to work in reverse. So let's say I give you 0.47, right? You have that decimal. We want to convert it to a percent. Since we're working in reverse, you'll move it 2 decimal places to the right. So you'll go 1, 2. That's going to give you 47%. So 0.47 is equal to 47%. How about 0.87? We have 0.87. We want to convert that into a percent. You'll just move it 2 decimal places to the right. So 1, 2. That would give you 87%. That would be your answer to this, is 87%. So as you see, doing decimals and percents is very simple, really. Let's say we have 0.03. We want to convert that into a percent. So take your number, move it 2 decimal places to the right. You'll go 1, 2, which would give you 0.003. Well, we don't need those 2 zeros in the tens and hundreds place. Those are just placeholders. Really what you would have is 3%. That would be your answer, is 3%. And I got a few more examples here. So we have 0.01. We want to convert 0.01 into a percent. Well, move it 2 decimal places to the right. You'll go 1, 2. That's going to give you 0.01. those two zeros in front of the one, behind the one rather, don't matter. You'll end up getting 1%. That would be your answer in percent, is 1%. Now, let's say I give you a number like 8.7. How are we going to convert that into a percent? Well, let's rewrite 8.7 because we want to, again, move it 2 decimal places to the right in order to get the percentage. So if you go 1 decimal place to the right, you'll have 87. We need to add a 0 because we want to go a 2nd decimal place to the right. You move a 2nd decimal place to the right, you'd have 870. So your answer to this in percent is going to be 870%. That's exactly what you get, 870%. Alright, how about the number 4? We just arbitrarily have the number 4. We want to convert that into a percent. Remember, 4.00 would also be the same thing as 4. We are adding 2 zeros because we need to move the decimal place 2 places to the right to convert it to a percent. So we go 1 place, we give you 40, 2 places to give you 400. So your answer to this is going to be 400%, would be the equivalent to 4. Alright. Then we have, let's say we got 0.889. We want to turn that into a percent. Well, again, you're going to move the decimal place 2 places to the right. You'll have, see, if you move it 1 place to the right, you'll have 8.89. You move it a 2nd place to the right, you'll have 88.9. So the answer is going to be 88.9%. Notice that 0 is insignificant if we move the decimal places. It is merely a placeholder if we move the decimal places, so we don't even have to regard the 0. It's going to be 88.9% if you move the decimal place 2 places to the right. I got one more example here. We have 0.0239. Okay, we want to convert that 0.0239 to a percent. How do we do that? Move the decimal place 2 places to the right. So you'll go 1. If you do it 1, you'll get 0.239. You move it a 2nd place, you'll get 2.39. So your answer is going to be 2.39%. That's what you would get if you're going from a decimal to a percent. So yeah, doing these is really quite simple. If you want to convert from a percent to a decimal, move the number 2 decimal places back to the left. If you want to convert from a decimal to a percent, you move it 2 decimal places to the right, you'll get your percent. That's really all there is to this. So next lesson we will be doing percents with fractions, converting them between fractions and so on. Hope everyone has a good night. Take care.